Financial Secretary says mortgage restrictions could be eased, but property cooling measures will remain largely in place. Matthew Cheung admits China doesn't need to inform Hong Kong government of any arrest at West Kowloon Station if it's not a criminal case. And Trump threatens to continue government shutdown for years.
Hello, good evening. The Financial Secretary says there will be no immediate easing of the government's property cooling measures as Paul Chan prepares his budget for next month. He also warned of a sharp drop in the city's fiscal surplus. Haley Zhou reports.
A decent place to live is beyond the reach of many in this city. The situation may not change anytime soon. With the annual budget coming up in under 2 months from now, Financial Secretary Paul Chan says he has no plan to relax buyers' stamp duty, as well as the additional stamp tax. However, he says the government is keeping a close watch and could consider relaxing loan-to-value ratios for home mortgages.
We have been very careful not to change this requirement lightly. Fearing that any untimely relaxation may cause the market to go up further. In considering whether and when to relax the mortgage ratio, we need to consider, number one, the downward adjustment in property price, and also the pace of such adjustment, plus the premium between first-hand property price and secondary market property price in the vicinity.
Currently, for homes worth less than $7 million, buyers can borrow up to 60% of the property price. And for homes worth more than $10 million, the maximum loan-to-value ratio is 50%. Last year, about 36.5% of the government's revenue stemmed from stamp duties and land premium. Chen also revealed the government's budget surplus at the end of March this year is expected to be around $46 billion, down by about 66% from the year before. So a $4,000 cash handout may not be offered this year. He explained the big drop in surplus was caused by fewer land and property sales and more public spending. A public consultation is underway for the upcoming budget announcement. The Financial Secretary will give the 2019 budget speech on the 27th next month. Haley Zhou, TVB News.
Meanwhile, the Urban Renewal Authority says it has received more than 3,000 applications over the last 2 days for flats under its Starter Homes pilot project. Applications began Thursday. More than 2,000 people have already visited the sample flat at Tai Kok Tsui. Situated on Ma Tau Wai Road and Chun Tin Street, the project offers 450 flats for first-time home buyers at 62% of market value. The URA says it currently has no project suitable for a second Starter Homes program.
The scale of the project has to be suitable. If the scale of the project is too small, I don't think it is worthwhile to use those projects for this purpose. The other thing is the financial situation of URA, because for this type of projects, URA would not be able to receive the income that we originally expect to receive.
Mainland authorities were not required to notify the government here of an arrest of a Hong Kong resident at the mainland port area of West Kowloon Station last October. A senior official says that is because the case was not criminal-related. Caleb Leung has more.
Reports surfaced yesterday of a mainland man detained last month at the mainland port area of West Kowloon Station. Now another report has come to light, this time about a Hong Kong man who was arrested at West Kowloon Station by mainland authorities. Chief Secretary for Administration Matthew Cheung today said mainland authorities were not obligated to notify the SAR about the case. Cheung explained that's because it was just an instance of the court following up on a civil case judgment which does not involve criminal prosecution. Still, Cheung says the Security Bureau will follow up on the issue. Lawmaker and Solicitor James To recommended amending the current agreement to include civil cases. He thinks it's necessary as even civil cases on the mainland can result in detentions. To also asked the Hong Kong government to protect the rights of Hong Kong residents under civil detention on the mainland. KW TVB News.
Police are investigating a knife attack that happened in broad daylight this afternoon. 2 men were injured. It happened near Prince Edward Road East in San Po Kong at around 3 p.m. Reports say a private car was chased and stopped by 2 other cars. Several masked men got out of a car and attacked the men inside the vehicle with steel bars and knives. The attackers then fled in another car. The victims were sent to hospital for treatment. Police have found a car near Concord Road they believe is linked to the attack.
Overseas now, US President Donald Trump has threatened to keep the government partially shut for months or even years. This after he and Democratic leaders failed to resolve their dispute over Trump's request for $5.6 billion for a border wall with Mexico. Alan Buckner reports.
A second meeting in 3 days failed to bring a conclusion to the shutdown.
We just completed a lengthy and sometimes contentious conversation with the president. We agreed that we will continue our conversations.
So we told the president we needed the government open. He resisted. In fact, he said he'd keep the government closed for a very long period of time, months or even years.
Trump, meanwhile, called the meeting productive.
I thought it was really a very, very good meeting. We're all on the same path in terms of wanting to get government open. We're going to be meeting. I've designated a group, and we're going to be meeting over the weekend.
Trump confirmed he threatened to keep the government shut down for months or even years.
Absolutely, I said that. I don't think it will, but I am prepared, and I think I can speak for Republicans in the House and Republicans in the Senate. They feel very strongly about having a safe country, having a border that makes sense.
Trump added that if they can't come to an agreement, he could use his executive power to get a wall built.
We can call a national emergency and build it very quickly, and it's another way of doing it. But if we can do it through a negotiated process, we're giving that a shot.
Meanwhile, hundreds of thousands of workers who have been furloughed or working without pay are feeling the pinch. Nora Brooks, who works for the Internal Revenue Service, says a note issued by the government that she will be paid eventually does little good with creditors.
This is not my first shutdown. I've been with the Internal Revenue Service over 25 years. I already know that letter means absolutely nothing to the creditor. Nothing. It will still get reported out if you miss a bill.
Mike Kazagian's job is considered essential. He's working but not getting paid.
We're almost the pawns in a political chess game. And it has nothing to do with us. We're federal employees. We're apolitical. We're not supposed to have opinions on these things.
Alan Brooknia, TVB News.
Global markets soared yesterday after China announced it will be hosting U.S. negotiators next week in a bid to end the trade war. The big jump came just a day after a huge plunge on news that Apple was predicting a drop in iPhone sales in China.
When the market runs into trouble, this is the kind of thing that you see a lot of the time. You see it fall a huge amount, then rise a huge amount. It's not always back-to-back days, but it gets very difficult for people to figure out where they're comfortable with the stock market being, what companies are worth relative to their profits and what the next year or two is going to look like. So you can get huge moves days or a few weeks apart.
Market watchers also cheered a solid U.S. jobs report and word from Federal Reserve Chairman Jerome Powell that the central bank will be flexible in deciding if and when it raises interest rates. In New York, the Dow Jones added 3.3% to close at 23,433.
Meanwhile, President Trump says he's confident China and the US will reach a deal to end the months-long trade war between the two sides. Trump boasted his aggressive stance against China has readdressed the balance between the two countries.
Well, I think we're doing very well. China's paying us tremendous tariffs. We're getting billions and billions of dollars of money pouring into the Treasury of the United States, which in history we've never gotten from China, as you know. It's been very unfair. But I will tell you, China is not doing well now, and it puts us in a very strong position. We are doing very well, but we're taking in billions and billions of dollars, and I hope we're going to make a deal with China. And if we don't, they're paying us tens of billions of dollars worth of tariffs. It's not the worst thing in the world. But I think we will make a deal with China. I really think they want to. I think they sort of have to. And I think we're going to have a great relationship. I think that President Xi and myself have a great relationship.
Tropical storm Pabuk has been downgraded to a depression, but it still caused noticeable damage to southern Thailand. Pabuk was expected to be the worst storm to hit the area in 3 decades, but it lost strength as it made landfall. The weather system still had enough force to cave in roofs, knock down trees, and topple power lines. At its peak, the weather system caused 5-meter waves to crash onto shore. Roughly 30,000 people were evacuated from coastal areas. Things are starting to get back to normal, with flights resuming to regional resort cities. Authorities say at least one fisherman was killed when his boat capsized in rough seas. A crew member on the vessel is also missing.
And still to come tonight. Land Supply Task Force Chief rejects suggestions businesses will flee Hong Kong if government builds homes on Fanling Golf Course. 5 teenagers die in house fire in Poland. And the world's most expensive tuna in Tokyo.
英國殿堂級設計 Designer Collection 登陸芝曼尼，限量版小馬椅同多款抱枕等緊你，配搭自潮皮革，坐得舒服都要型。同場加映多款最新梳化 design， 仲有彈教自信優惠，有得揀梗係芝曼尼。
Welcome back to TVB News. The chairman of the Task Force on Land Supply is calling it an exaggeration to say that developing parts of the Fanling Golf Course would drive away international business. As Christy Leung reports, Stanley Wong also lamented the fact that Hong Kong's land supply had dwindled over the past decade.
Imagine living on the Fanling Golf Course. It's one of the 8 land options the Task Force on Land Supply recommended the government use parts of the 170-hectare golf course to build new homes. Speaking on a radio show this morning, Task Force Chairman Stanley Wong believes land from the golf course can bring more than 4,600 new homes. He called it an exaggeration that the golf course option would drive away foreign businesses from setting up their Asia headquarters in the city and harmed Hong Kong's status as a global financial hub.
We think using only 32 hectares and leaving perhaps the rest of the 140 hectares unchanged would not affect the fact that the golf course can continue to organize Hong Kong Opens, for example. The business sector will be able to continue within the rest of the Fanling Golf Course.
He stressed that the city has a serious shortfall of land. Citing official figures, he said 6,000 hectares of new land was created between 1995 and 2005, but the figure dropped significantly by some 90% between 2005 and 2015.
We do have an overdraft of land as now because we have not been creating land over the last 10 to 15 years. In the short to medium term, we have projected we do have a shortage of more than 800 hectares of land, and therefore we will not give up simply without valid reasons on any of the short to medium term options.
Christy Lim, TVB News.
A woman was killed in a delivery van collision last night. A light goods van crashed into a curb and an electric meter box on Longchan Road in Wong Tai Sin at around 8 p.m. A 32-year-old female passenger was thrown out of the vehicle and was certified dead at Queen Elizabeth Hospital. Initial police investigations reveal she may not have worn her seatbelt when the accident happened. The van's 28-year-old driver has been arrested on suspicion of dangerous driving causing death. And in a social media statement, delivery firm GoGo Van confirmed the vehicle was one of theirs.
2 Hong Kong activists have now been detained for more than 3 weeks in Japan after a protest outside the Yasukuni Shrine. Families of Kwok Soo Kit and Yim Man Hua arrived in Tokyo this morning to visit the pair, as well as to seek help from the Chinese embassy. Kwok and Yim are members of the Action Committee for Defending the Diaoyu Islands. They staged a protest outside the Yasukuni Shrine last month. One was making a recording as the other set fire to a makeshift memorial tablet. The pair were arrested and charged with trespassing.
What was supposed to be a birthday celebration in Poland turned into tragedy. A group of teen girls were celebrating at an escape room when a fire broke out and the youngsters were unable to escape. Peter Covales has details.
Fire crews were summoned to a game center in the northern city of Koszalin after a blaze broke out Friday evening. Unfortunately, crews arrived too late. After the fire was extinguished, the bodies of 5 teen girls were found inside one of the rooms. A police spokesperson believes they were celebrating the birthday of one of the girls. She added the cause of the fire was being investigated. The city's mayor said psychiatric and psychological support will be provided to the families of the victims. Reports said the bodies were found in a room near the fire, but were not affected by the blaze. Polish state news agency PAP reported the girls died from carbon monoxide asphyxiation. The girls failed to get out of what is known as an escape room. The activity is popular across the country. The rules are simple. Players are locked inside a room or building and must find clues to escape. There are roughly 1,000 escape rooms in Poland. A local fire brigade officer said fire safety checks will now be held at all escape room locations in Poland. A 25-year-old man was also hospitalized with burns and could not be questioned about the blaze. Officials have declared Sunday a day of mourning in the city. Peter Covales, TVB News.
Highway patrol officers in the U.S. state of Florida are examining the scene of a multi-vehicle head-on collision. The crash killed 2 truck drivers and 5 children in a church van heading to Disney World. Officers believe one of the vehicles drove through a guardrail and into oncoming traffic. Reports say one of the truck drivers had received several tickets for violations in recent years. Among the survivors was a pregnant woman. She and her baby have been stabilized in hospital. They were among the passengers of a church van from Louisiana. The 5 children that died in the car crash were between the ages of 9 and 14. The U.S. National Transportation Safety Board wants to investigate, but cannot because of the U.S. shutdown. And finally tonight, a 278-kilo bluefin tuna sold for a record $3 million this morning at Tokyo's famed Tsukiji Market. That's more than 10 times the normal price per kilogram for the prized but threatened species of tuna. The winning bidder, the owner of a sushi restaurant chain, said he was surprised by the high price, but added the tuna he bought is the best. It was the first auction for the newly relocated Tsukiji Market on a former gas plant site on Tokyo Bay. And that's the news.